Hey guys, it's Matt. Welcome back to Midnight Reality. This episode is called something like Back to Basics. I continue to get shown conspiracy. I'm in a rare mood. Conspiracy videos. This one wasn't Mud Flood. It was more about architecture. Guys, it's so simple. I mean, I should have more trolls. I should have more trolls because I'm not out to put everybody out of business. But I'm putting myself out of business. Reality is a half page. We go back to basics. All these other conspiracy channels just spinning wheels, focusing on reality's trick. Your conspiracy isn't legitimate, and all the others, all the thousands of others aren't. Yours is part of the thousands of others that aren't legitimate. That's part of the reality trick. And it doesn't matter if it's architecture and it's stone or it's a structure, it's a pyramid. It's all part of the reality trick. I mean, I don't know. I have to keep saying this, guys, because the rest of the conspiracy or truth research community goes nowhere. I mean, many of the old guard are probably saying, Matt, I'm tired of you saying this every time at Midnight Reality. Well, let's get some goddamn results in the rest of the truth community. Also, let's start with, oh my gosh, I should have more trolls. If a presentation is, let's say, put on and it's not completely in line with what you think the personality of the presenter may be, then it's bullshit. Matt, your personality, people have said they've met you and you're just some boring motherfucker. Yeah, because we have different personas. It doesn't mean the persona now that in front of the microphone is false or put on. It's a real persona. Are you exactly the same at work as you are at home? I agree. I just sit downstairs with a cat on my lap. I don't want to do nothing with nobody. It's not healthy. I don't have this persona going around the house talking to Zara like this, but it's legitimate or you wouldn't be here. It's not put on. If it was faked, it would fail. That's the two F's. If it was faked, it would fail. Okay, sitting here for a few minutes, let me get right to the point right away for a change. And let me express the basics of how I understand this reality to work, of which not just from me, many of you, hundreds and hundreds, have contributed to my understanding over the years. And let me present it a little bit different than I've ever presented it before. If the entire screen reality or the outer rings or the not milk or the bad guy, however you want to look at it, if all of, at that level is out to play a trick on you, then we need to get whatever work that needs to be done, whatever reason we're here, whatever needs to be accomplished now. See, that now is the key. This incarnation, I've heard people talk like, well, after I die, Matt, there's no doubt that, of course, the spirit lives on. I'll decide if I want to come back. I'll decide this and that or where I want to go. And I don't, like the urgency is not on what we're doing here now. Where we are now is extremely important, or the magnitude of the trick that the spiritual adversary is playing would not be so massive. Let me say that again. It proves how important what we are doing now, part two, the work, proves how important it is because of the degree and severity of the not milk trick or the outer ring of reality's trick. If this wasn't so important, this material incarnation, it wouldn't be playing a trick to a magnitude of which people can't even fathom. Whatever needs to be done now. However we incarnated here, we've got ourselves involved in something. We don't know exactly the rules, the basis of what we're involved in, but it doesn't mean we're trapped or tricked, but we're involved in something where it's not just, it's not as simple as just going in and learning a few lessons. We've gotten ourselves involved in a game of some kind, something that needs to be beaten or overcome. Tony put it with the simultaneous incarnations. The higher self will be in these material realities until the physical incarnations or aspects of higher self give it what it needs or do what it needs so it can exit this sort of game. If it doesn't, if these fuck up incarnations. Not, it learns from everyone, but if it's not giving the higher self, I hate the word, whatever, and I'll make fun of it and I'll probably tease it before this presentation's over. I hate oversoul. Sounds like overlord or something like maybe a Sith Lord. And now I'm starting to watch Severance again, which is one of the greatest shows ever made in preparation for Severance 2, which will probably be out to destroy it and will probably be horrible. I will talk about Severance later. But Severance presents the concept that higher self may not be so, like Bill's post, may not be so, I love you, I would never harm an aspect of myself. Go watch Severance to see if the higher self may be so loving and cares so much about all aspects of itself. We'll talk more about that later. But we've got ourselves in a situation here. I don't want that to sound like we're in a pickle or anything. We got ourselves into this situation, or an aspect of ourselves. This bullshit about we would have never come in here, or we were all-powerful being was somehow tricked or lured by the George Bush creatures, that level of incarnation. What, they put a carrot on the end of a stick in front of a mule, and we're the mule, we're the donkey, barrow, yak, jackass. Come in this reality. Oh, you promise it's benign, right? Well, I promise it's benign. Come on in. Oh, sure, an all-powerful being like us, we just got tricked. We put ourselves into a pickle. And maybe it does take multiple lifetimes or 10 or thousands. Who knows? The higher self says, time I got. Time, I'm a timeless being. Well, it could take potentially thousands of lifetimes, or who knows what it is. I think we're doing a pretty good job doing part 2 of the work and figuring it out, but it could take, and the higher self says, so what? Time I got. It's a timeless being. Why would it care how long the little aspects take to figure things out? Now, all higher self means to me is there's an aspect of us that's not here. Don't need to know any more than that, all this complicated horse shit. The dream character is in some way an aspect of you in the bed. There's another aspect of you somewhere else. It's that simple. There's just levels. It shows you with the dream, you're the next level up, and some other son of a beach is another level up, and there's probably another level, and 14 million more levels. So what? It's just an aspect of you isn't here. What does Not Milk do? This is all you are, you poor devils. It makes you believe there's no spiritual aspect, other arm of the Vitruvian Man. Its job is very rudimentary, very simple. Well, there are many things it's out to do, but one of its main things is to get the reality to be believed in as all important, and the thing that you are here, whatever it is, a combination of soul and body and mind, body, spirit. It comes together here in a weird way. What you are here is all you are, you poor devils. That's what the Not Milk's job is. It's very pedestrian and rudimentary. It's actually quite pathetic. Everybody without their thumb up their ass should be able to see right through the trick. Sat here for a minute to calm down. One of the main parts of this presentation, of which you've heard bits and pieces of this many times, this is a little bit different. Stressing this, I guess, is a little bit different because I've talked about it, not stressed it. That because of the magnitude of our adversary and the magnitude of its trick, go look at the conspiracy maps. It's in every one of those 1,000 items people waste their time on. It's in the world news. It's in authority and governments. The trick is everywhere. It's Norm, the bathroom rebel, and we've got some new slides and cartoons coming from Paul. What part of this reality is the trick, Matt? Says Norm in the bathtub. All of it. Basically, other than the game board here, the natural world. I don't think the gray or the red-tailed hawk that flies over my house is part of Not Milk. There goes Not Milk. It's got a rat or a vole. There goes Not. It's not the crows. They're not. There's a natural world here, a game board, if you will, a natural world that's not everything else. What in terms of everything else is the trick, Matt? All of it. We don't know that by now. The truthers are going to dig in on their little themes that I researched this, I researched that. What are you researching all this? Step back and just see it's a gigantic trick, every bit of it. Okay, so the point is, because it's working so hard, I've said that a few million times, but the different emphasis in this video is, do you realize that how important whatever we have to get done needs to get done here and now? Like a football game, the clock starts. The scoring has to be done between the time that the clock starts and stops. Whatever has to be done here in this place. For ourselves, the greater aspect of ourselves, higher self, whatever's sitting around in another world, higher self sitting on a lounge chair somewhere. drinking a goddamn pina colada, getting Mirajarone on Ryza. Your higher self's probably on Ryza, like Picard getting Mirajarone or whatever, and he's got you you're doing the work, and the incarnations are doing the work, and that son of a beach is sitting there with his feet crossed or her feet crossed, saying, "More pina colada, please." And I want Mirajarone. That's you have to see the Star Trek Ryza episode where he meets up. What's his name? Was it Vosh or something? Whatever that archaeologist girl. I like Vosh. I'd like to. Okay. So we're here to do the work. But Matt, the higher self would have never. We would have subjected ourselves to this trauma, and I hear this all the time. Woe is me. We would have never subjected ourselves to this. Oh, really? Yeah. Did you ever touch something you think was kind of hot or? Many times, I don't do it just to hurt myself on purpose, but how hot is the stove heating up? And I know it could be too hot. I'm ready to pull my hand off very, very quickly. A few times I've done it, I've gotten a little burned. Okay, you would never subject those cells in the end of the finger to basically to them. I've just subjected them to hell. Putting my finger on the stove for a second, and many times it's been too hot, and go whatever the little cells are at the end of my finger, okay, I just subjected them to some form of hell. Oh, you would never do that to yourself, man. I just did to the cells on my finger. Or why are your cells potentially small little aspects of something greater? But we have to stop thinking of ourselves as the individual. What Tony stressed to me is stop thinking Matt versus higher self, and it is you. You're it. It's yes, I love the scene. I'm going to do it from 16 Candles, carrying Carolyn out to the car. What? This is a Rolls Royce, Jake. I thought you couldn't drive a stick. The grill's on this $5,000, Jake. You have $5,000. Who's he? He's me. Who are you? I'm him. Tony stressed, higher self is you. The person in the bed is the dream character. Stop thinking of yourself as a complete little individual. The cells are you. You've touched the stove. Those cells were burned. You just put them through some sort of hell. But, higher self would never subject themselves. If you think of it as cells in a finger, why wouldn't it subject itself to this sort of trauma to learn something? It is you. You are it. It's okay. Stop thinking of yourselves as the individual. Go out to Rise and get Mirajarone. Now, at this point, a lot of people hit me with something really, really dark and really sad and disgusting. Matt, you heard about the 5-year-old child that was taken and kept in a cabin and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. The higher self put that aspect of itself to experience that. I would hope not. Remember one thing, if I have to take the other side of the podium against this. This world isn't very real. There are entities here that aren't very real. Dolores Cannon even talked about background characters, and she was one of the first to talk about NPCs, at least entities and beings that aren't the same as you. Things here, a big proportion of it, isn't very real. Remember the Not Nilk's main goal, perhaps its number one goal, is to get the real spiritual beings that are incarnated here now to believe one in this place. First and foremost, it needs to be believed in. In terms of that horrible news story that we've all heard about, the child is taken and blah, blah, blah. Of course, it's unfathomable to believe that a higher self could subject an aspect of itself to that. But again, first and foremost, this reality needs to be believed in. And one of the main ways it does that is through constant catastrophe. I mean, right now, the fires and the loss and the sorrow and the heartbreak and the thousands dying in this war and the millions dying over here in some sort of ethnic cleansing. This world is about, now, are those things happening to the same sort of spiritual entity that you are? Maybe, maybe not. How am I supposed to know? I only know what I am. I am not in the middle of some trench war somewhere. I only know what I am. I can't say whether all those horrible, nasty things happen to real spiritual beings, or is it part of the background of this place? I know many of you were like crossing your arms like, I can't believe he's saying that. We don't know. First and foremost, this is a fact and rule of this place. It works overtime to be believed in. One of the ways it does that, it needs to create catastrophe, trauma, loss, trauma, heartbreak, death everywhere around us. Look around the world. Is that part of its tactic to be believed in? Are those things happening to real spiritual beings? I'm saying I don't know. You can't say for sure it is happening to real spiritual beings. It's possible. It's part of the background of this place. You don't know for sure that is not accurate. I don't know for sure it's accurate, but at least it's a possibility. Yes, I can't reconcile that if a real spiritual being was taken as a child in some of the news stories that we've heard about and subjected to this and that, I don't believe any higher self would be that sick. I hear you. But just because the news story presents itself and something did happen to someone, it may be part of the background of this place. I know that doesn't sit right with you, but it's possible. I'm just saying we must leave it on the table. I'm not saying it's definite, but you can't say it's not possible either. Let me pause and not lose sight for the main reason I wanted to make this video called something like Midnight Reality Back to Basics. In any, say, sporting event where there's a clock, basketball, football, clock starts, what needs to be done has to happen between the clock 0, 1, 2, 3, and the end time period. Okay, obviously, in a baseball game, it has to, whatever scoring is going to happen has to happen between the innings, between the bookends. Whatever we need to do has to happen here. Now, this seems obvious, but there's a lot of this sort of sentiment in our community that, yeah, Matt, I agree. This is we agreed to come here, learn a few things, whatever, come in and out. And then after I get out, I'll decide what I want to do. And I'm a powerful being and where I want to go. And I don't think that the proper emphasis or importance is placed on what's happening here. The clock is ticking, literally, on our lives. The sporting event, birth, the end, death, the whistle or the buzzer, at the end of it. I never understood the end of a damn soccer game, European football. Make no sense to me. Understand none of it. Well, I thought it was supposed to end at this time. The clock just keeps going. Well, how do you know when it's going to end? How much time you got left to score a goal, old man? What toppings you got? The clock just keeps going and going. It depends on Well, how do you know when the game's over? It's so stupid. At least in a horrible, wretched NBA, it's like the end's the end. You know when you got to throw up that three-pointer or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? Soccer just keeps going. So dumb. Anyway, sorry. Here, we don't know either, right, Matt? Well, Matt, soccer it's a parallel in life. You don't know when your moment's going to be last. Maybe that's the reason soccer does that. It doesn't matter. It's still a time period. We have to get it. The scoring has to be done now. Not like the attitude of, yeah, we come in here, I'll learn a few things. And I know part of the truth community thinks that anytime you say a school, they get triggered. But they can't really. We'll learn a few things. I'm glad I incarnated. No, I think there's some. This is against, or taking a podium against, the no consequences people, of which they've brought me more onto their side, but I'm not completely there. There's some real things that need to be done while the clock is ticking. I mean, we got ourselves into this, not David Icke, Saturn Moon Matrix trap. That means something else is responsible for you have to beat something else, like a warden or a prison. No, we got ourselves in this pickle. Now, we were tricked to come in here. I love to make fun of that. We put ourselves in this pickle, and higher self is sitting back with its pina colada saying, it could take a while for these little sons of bitches to figure it out. He said, time I got. You know the Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones? Time is on my side. He said, I wrote that. The higher self said, I wrote that. I planted it in Mick Jagger's head. He thinks he wrote it. I wrote it. He writes what I say he writes, says Humpty Dumpty, your higher self, to Mick Jagger. Time is on my side, the higher self says. It could take a long time from their perspective, these little sons of bitches, these little simultaneous incarnations I got running around trying to whack themselves off. But time I got. Could take a while. We put ourselves in this pickle, and the time to score in the football game or whatever is when the clock is ticking. Not this attitude of, yeah, when I die, I'll figure it out later. And no, you need to do something now. And maybe I went too far a few weeks ago. People got triggered when I said something like, maybe this is like the riddle of the Sphinx. Maybe there's something, like the broke the code for Hal. Shallow Hal wants a gal, and then he saw Rosemary for what she really is. Maybe there is a little trick. I don't think it's going to be a little saying or something we need to do while we're here. And maybe I went too far, and people did get a little triggered saying, Matt, you're suggesting that somebody that's alive after you pass needs to declare that he's done enough and he goes on to the highest level and he's won, he's done, but you need somebody alive back in the place where you used to be to say it. First of all, I was just throwing it out. Did I say that's definitively how this reality works and that is how to break the riddle of the Sphinx? I never said that. I just said, is there one last piece of the puzzle, like one more part of the combination lock that we need to do? I mean, it triggered the people. Oh, it's all about ourselves. It probably is all about ourselves. How do you know? How do you know? I just threw it out. Didn't say that was a necessary part, but I'm not going to take any chances. What's the downside? If there is one, let's say the combination lot, spin it right, spin it left, always dropping left and right, combination, it goes back and forth. What if one little number in the combination lot, all of it you can do yourself, one thing per this game that we got ourselves involved in, one thing has to come from someone else. Something happens to Matt and whoever, Kim over here in Phoenixville says he has to declare, you know what, somebody down here has to say he's done everything he needed to do, and he goes to the highest level. Why? Because I say so. Again, I'm not saying that's a necessary part, or that last number in the combination lock has to come from someone else. I'm just saying let's just consider it as a possibility. It triggered the people that they crossed their arms. It's 100% about ourselves. It probably is. It's probably 100% up to us. But you know that for sure? Really? I'm just throwing it out. If it's rejected, it's rejected. Some people might say that's interesting. If I have somebody declaring if the chainsaw out here takes, first of all, I've told my entire family, if there's a chainsaw incident behind my house, I don't think it was an accident. Who knows what black helicopter landed or whatever. I said, if there's a chainsaw incident, it really wasn't an accident. Okay, but and then family said, what does that mean to me? I don't know. I'm not saying you should go try to find retribution or something. I'm just saying it wasn't an accident. Anyway, back to the main point so I don't stray into the weeds. The clock is ticking, the game, whatever needs to get done for yourself or higher self, whatever your belief is, needs to get done now before that final whistle blows. And the stakes are pretty darn high, in my opinion. No consequences, people. The stakes, I mean, if you have to do multiple incarnations, reincarnation, that's high stakes. No consequences, people. Doesn't mean you're not an immortal being of spirit that always has been, always will be. If you have to do this, or like the Buddhists, thousands of more times or whatever it may be, or higher self putting multiple hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of over, millennia of incarnations into material realities to get what it needs, that's a consequence. So in a way, I've come over to the no consequences people's side, who first started to get on me when I said giving away soul tokens. Okay, that was wrong. I've come around. Meaning, the Not Milk plays its trick, and I had said this many years ago, 6-7 years ago, and it seems like one of the reasons it plays its trick is so we give ourselves away. Go into the Pope's abyss. I remember saying at the time, the Pope Francis, don't call me Francis, threw that language out. Bad souls don't go to hell, they go to the abyss. And I started talking about soul tokens, and it tricks us to give away parts of ourselves and try to pull in the Harry Potter concept of Horcrux. And can you put yourself into the material world and dissolve yourself potentially? And they've changed me in that regard. Where the no consequences people came in and said, Matt, you would have never come in here. You can't give yourself away or go into the oblivion through bad choices here. Okay, in that regard, I agree. Cannot give soul tokens away. Parts, I talked about the light going down. I think that was wrong. I really do. The Not Milk tries to extinguish the campfire. Oh, what a coincidence. Extinguish the fire, and your job is to flare it back up. But no, I'm more, they've brought me around, the no consequences people. I agree. You can't give yourself away spiritually. Whatever you are outside of here cannot be harmed. However, what is the definition of a consequence? The hockey team needs to score its goals while the clock is ticking. At the end of the third period, in the buzzer, it can't score goals anymore, no matter how much it wants to. It needs to score its goals during the game. And if you're an F-up, complete F-up incarnation, although Tony says the higher self can even learn from F-ups, even if it has a stockbroker as one of its incarnations. But the F-up incarnations, there's a consequence for the spiritual whole. If that doesn't mean that they go to the abyss, the consequences could be didn't get any more numbers in that long combination lock, didn't do what it needed to do. Do it again. Another incarnation of higher self, another simultaneous incarnation, another reincarnation. The simultaneous incarnation is less about the individual. The reincarnation is more about the individual having to do it again. Whatever it is, that's a consequence. I think we're here to get things done. Then you know the main reason I believe that? You know why I'm 100% sure that we have to score the goals now, and that's essential? Because there's a team playing against us. We're not just skating around trying to pretend we're Mary Lou Retton. No, that's a gymnast, Nancy Kerrigan, and her nemesis, Tanya Harding. Not just skating around trying to do little flips or quads or whatever. There's another team against us here, preventing us from scoring the goals. That the spiritual adversary is proof that we have to get things done now, or it wouldn't be trying to distract you. And look what it's called in hockey: score goals, life goals, goals of the higher self. Need to get it done now. One last time. Not this attitude of, "Oh, Matt, I agree with you, but I'll figure it out once I see exactly how everything worked through death." No, you go through death and you say, yeah, now you understand everything. But guess what? Part of the game you signed up for, the pickle you stuck yourself in, you needed to figure it out there and then do what you needed to do while you were there. Don't you see? You can only score goals when you're on the ice. That's called life, you son of a bitch. Now you understand how the game is played. You're passed through the corridor or the membrane of death. But I want to score a goal. It loves me. I want to score goals now. You can't score goals now. You can only score goals while the clock is ticking in the game. That's birth through death. That's where you score your goals. Now I understand everything. After death, I want to score goals now. Sit down and shut up. Like I said, you can't score goals now. Well, you got to go back into the game. Well, I want to go back into the game with full knowledge. You can't. You'll go back into the game. You won't know shit about shit. We're going to make your poor broke spiritual ass Tommy the deaf, dumb, and blind kid. Now you put yourself in this pickle. Go figure it out. You're going to wake up in a slum of Delhi somewhere in the landing strip of the runway. How many people across all of existence have taken the simple act of one 3x5 card, one card, and writing on it the goals of my existence, the goals of this incarnation, the goals of this life? 6, 7 things. How many people have written it out? Just one little card. In terms of everyone that has ever existed, maybe 0.00001% or more zeros than that. Maybe that's why the population keeps going up. Not getting it done. Go back. Population's going to increase. 8 billion, 9 billion, not getting it done. They got to come back. More organic portals are made because it's like the soul's got to cram in somewhere. I have a somewhat new definition of what the dark part of reality, our spiritual adversary, is out to do. And I think I've simplified it even further. Down from the 2 sentences that it already was? Yeah, I think I've simplified it even further. The goal of the dark reality is to take you farther away, further. We won't use the exact measurement term, further away from where you need to be. It's that simple. The dark reality, the screen, the false reality is here, and it plays its game and its trick to move you further away from where you need to be. Your goal is to get back home, to do what you need to do to get closer to where you need to be. It is that simple. Now we could look at tens of thousands of examples and see how it fits in this simple definition of how reality works. Chasing individual conspiracy. Monkey loves you. By the way, what I'm doing, the Bills poster, I love you. This is from the Black Mirror episode. But there was a somewhat famous YouTuber that was interested in Mandela effects regarding Bible changes. They came to me, this person, and thought I was possessed. See, one of the proofs that I could be possessed, the devil can only imitate. There's nothing original that comes from Matt McKinley. See, even the voice, it comes from the Black Mirror episode. Monkey loves you. Monkey wants a hug. I can't, there's no original voice that comes from me. The devil has to imitate. A demon like me would have to imitate a Black Mirror. I think this Black Museum Callister, Black Museum. Black Museum's an incredible episode of Black Mirror. Something that mother's killed or something, and then her consciousness. That's what they want to do to everybody. Gets put into a stuffed animal so the mother can still see her child, but the mother can't talk to the child. The mother can only respond in two ways. Monkey loves you. Monkey wants a hug. That's all she gets. It's an incredible episode. And then the last part, the Black Museum, is incredible. The last part of it, the person's soul was like Horcruxed off into a keychain. It's incredible. Not as good as Callister. Sorry. So I can only, as the demon creature, I can only, according to this YouTuber, that I must be possessed, can only imitate. That's a giveaway that this Matt McKinley character may not be entirely legit. Okay, enough on that. Let's just take the 10,000 examples. If your conspiracy of the week is mud flood, whatever, researching that and diving into that, do you think, just what does your inner knowing tell you, Jerry Maguire, Fireman Cronin's, is researching that specific conspiracy, is that getting you, your spiritual whole, closer to where you need to be? Every single cell inside you, every fiber of your being says, no, that's taking you farther from where, farther, whatever, tomato, farther is, you should say, if it's a real, an exact distance, it doesn't matter. If you walk away from all of that conspiracy bullshit and the conspiracy maps and the Bigfoot and the archetype and the Loch Ness Monster and the mud flood and the mall events and the bang events and where the people flying around on wires up there and the shiny happy people on the ISS, they never get bags under the eyes. If you walk away from all of it, do you think, what does your inner knowing tell you, Jerry Maguire? Is that getting you, what does your heart tell you? Is that getting you closer to where you need to be, walking away from all of it? Or is it getting you further from where you need to be? Because figuring out all the conspiracy is the goal of life. Every fiber in our being says walking away from it gets us a little closer to getting back home. I mean, this is obvious at this point. Yet, look around at this idiot research truth community. If we could construct one sentence as to what the Nautilus, or the spiritual adversary of real people here, is up to, that sentence may be something like, it's out to replace a real world with a fake world. Let's look at that in the context of, is it taking you further away from where you need to be or back home? The goal, if you had one sentence, this wouldn't be a bad choice. If you had to put it into one sentence and you were limited in your number of words, like the way they limit you in a title, or the old Twitter used to limit you to 2 characters or something like that, you could say, it's out, no, the world was never that real, but it needs to be said as simply as possible. It's out to replace a real world with a fake world. Once the dust settles and things normalize and everybody on the ship of fools says, Isaac, more pina coladas. Oh, what's happening here? Oh, a president was just convicted of a felony and there's no penalty. Oh, that's normal. Let's go back to the President Nixon quote. If the president does it, then it is not illegal. Wait, they people on the ship of fools, the dust settles and the new reality is normalized. That's the purpose of the ship of fools, the frequency, the download. It works constantly. This is very simple. I have to keep it to one sentence and has to fit into a limited number of words. It replaces a real world with a fake world, but it's tiered, it's stepped. Once that dust settles on the new ship of fools, that is the new standard and definition and metric for a real world, according to all the fools on deck, ordering from Isaac. Then it will then take its next step and turn a real world into a fake world. But the world it was before wasn't entirely real based on what we remember from the last century, but you know what I mean. It's incremental. It's an expert in tiny incrementalism. And as the dust settles, that's the new definition or standard for a real world. What can it do next? It can put everybody into a VR headset. It can do brain chips. It can bring in more magenta. It's blending what we would consider to be a real world with a fake world. So in terms of the context of what we're talking about here, if it's successful in incrementally moving what you thought was a real world closer to a fake world, then is that taking most people closer to home or where they need to be, whatever the spiritual result is of why you got into this pickle? Or is that hiding it from them? It's taking them farther away from where they need to be. Whenever they incrementally replace a real world with a fake world, It's incremental in a million steps. So the step before it wasn't entirely real, but I don't need to repeat myself 1,000 times. Then that's taking somebody farther away, farther from where they need to be. We might not have all the answers now, but again, the whole an analogy of us diving off the ship is we said this process for us is going to stop. We might not know at this point exactly what we need to do. Getting that 3x5 card and just listing the 7 goals of life, that's a great place to start. We might not have all the answers, but we're not following the ship any longer. It's incrementally going down. Incrementally, it's like just down steps. Think of a slinky a slinky. It's fun for a girl think of a slinky going down the steps. That's reality. Each step is a new level. We jumped off the slinky. We're at the top step. We're 4 steps down. It keeps going. It's going to continue to get more and more insane because we've stabilized ourselves. We've jumped off like in Cliffhanger with Stallone. We've put the axe in the cliff and the slinky's going down, and we're kind of we might not have all the answers either. Oh crap! I got to climb up to the top in that first scene in Cliffhanger, but we're not on the slinky anymore, and it's going down, and it's getting weirder and more bizarre. This is the greatest news of all time, folks, because it proves who you are. So there's 2 parts to this equation here. If on one side, its job is to take you farther away from where you need to be, and its million different tactics all do that, we don't fall for that anymore. Nobody listening to this falls for that anymore. So we're not going down step by step with the slinky. That's great. That's wonderful. We're stuck on a step with Stallone with the pickaxe in the rock, and okay, then what's the other side? How do I get to where I need to be to accomplish what I need to accomplish in this reality, to get back home, to merge with higher self, whatever your belief system is? How do I get back home? Well, the Notnilk, the whole team, the hockey team playing against you is not going to help you with that. Hey, Notnilk, thanks a lot. Can I get some help here, please? Notnilk says, what you want, boy? You want me to help you get home? I'm here to get in your way, you dumb son of a bitch. It's not going to help. Guess who can help? Just you. Okay, there's people here with different religions, and if Jesus can help you, great. We have different ways. There are some things that are put here. It's not all stacked against us. I think there are many things in this reality that are here to help, even spiritual messages and poems and songs. But to me, it's generally up to us. So, how many people have done this? It starts very, very simply, and it ends simply. Get a 3x5 card. Got to tear off a piece of toilet paper. You have a fold, a square, whatever, and just write. I mean, anything. Get a pizza box. And what are the goals? And the way to start? What are the goals in life? The 5 things, the 7 things, the 10 things. And the way to think about that, in my opinion, is we've talked about this many times. I'm generally why I'm here, and we are Tommy the deaf, dumb, and blind kid. We don't have a whole lot of information. However, we have something called inner knowing. It's very powerful. If there's a part of me that's not here, here's the way I think of it. There's a part of me that's not here. Call it higher self, whatever you want to call that son of a bitch. And it's me, and this is for a reason. What does it need from me? Let's just stack a lot of things up against that simple equation and metric. What does it need does it need mud flood research? Does the part of me that's not here, a spiritual side that's not here, the way the dream character doesn't recognize the person sleeping in the bed, does it need Tartaria research? Does it need directed energy regarding what's going on now? Research? No, it doesn't. It's so clear. Anything from the conspiracy map, it doesn't need. It does. Does the Notnilk need you to do that? Every fiber in your being says, yes, of course it wants you to do that. And that it's just all a distraction. So what does it want me? What can I do here? The place to start. What can I do here that I couldn't, or what can I learn here that I can't get from where I came from? What's different about this place? Well, the emotions, the incredible roller coaster of emotions, the highs and lows. Is it, you have to figure it out yourself. Should it be overcome? There's no more crying in baseball. Or is it meant to be experienced fully? The bad, the good, this is how memories are made. Is it part of it? It's not just, it's always, when we think of it as a school or a test, well, this has to be overcome. I need to do better with the in-laws. And it's about improving, but it's also about Am I experiencing certain things? Maybe it has to, it's just the fact that we have to go through it and fully experience it. That's the goal to take with us. Not that it always has to be beaten or overcome or fixed or won. We talk about a million times. Yeah, when the in-laws come, I got to stop getting upset. We do have to do all that. But it's not always about passing a test. It's like, am I fully allowing myself to experience this or that or these emotions? What would the thing that's not here want from me? This is a terrible example, but sometimes really dumb, bad examples sometimes stick. When I lived in Los Angeles, 96 through 99, it was Six Flags Magic Mountain was the shit. I mean, it was a big deal going up there in 96 or 97 for the first time. Superman, the escape ride, and it just had things I'd never, ever seen before. Boardwalk roller coasters and Wildwood bullshit. And, it was incredible, absolutely incredible. So if I'm walking into the park, just Matt, there's certain things I want to do, but let's just say, again, bad example, I'll be done with it in less than a minute. Let's say, there's a part of me that can't physically experience this. The Six Flags Magic Mountain. What would it want? Well, it can't really experience maybe anything physical as a spiritual being. So I want to get on rides that are the most G-forces or the most physically traumatic rides. And are you thinking just for yourself, or what? There's part of me that's experiencing it with me, either right now in real time or at the moment of death, where all experiences are shared or something. And we're blocked by the knot. And so I say, all experiences here are shared with every other aspect of me and cannot be blocked. Why? Because I said so through that affirmation. Those types of affirmations have power. All memories are mine forever. Not can't have any of it or any of my energy. Why? Because I said so. I share everything with all other aspects of me because I realize I have the power to declare that. That's okay. That's neat. So I'll say, what the aspect of me that can't go to Six Flags Magic Mountain? What? Just stop for a second and not be selfish. What would it want? What would it want? Well, I don't know exactly because I can't talk to it, but I can get an intuition and maybe try to do some things for it. I mean, okay, I'm sorry if this was a terrible example, but you kind of understand what I'm seeing. How many people that have ever lived in all of existence have gone through their life that have said, what can I maybe try to give the part of me that's not here? How many people have done that? 0.0000001% of anybody that's ever lived has even thought about that. Maybe there's something to that. And maybe when all the aspects give it what it needs, I think Tony and others may agree then that higher self can exit out of these 3D material plane games. Here's something very interesting that I've thought about. Would you say, if it was a multiple choice test, that this place here, this realm called Earth, is a place of duality? Oh, not that stuff again, man. I've heard that in the truth community. Just hear me out. This is really important, actually. Would you say it's a place of hot and cold, black and white, good and evil, just cheese or pepperoni, just a little, every yin and yang, everything here has a balance. Yeah, we know. Matt, I've seen those videos. I know. Okay, but this is very important. Of course it is. Just a little. I'm going to tell you where that came from. It just came to me where that came from. Stole that from the psychic medium in Poltergeist, but for her cameo in 16 Candles. See, a demon creature like Matt has no original thoughts. Demon creature gives itself away through imitation. I stole that from the psychic, not in Poltergeist. That came from 16 Candles. She's the little piano player. And remember, he says, where did Samantha go? She got married down at the pub. She got married. Yeah, that's the scene. Sorry. So it's a place of duality. So there has to be a balance. If we come in here, Tommy, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid, we have no recollection of what we were spiritually, who we truly are. Much of the truth community says, well, it's so unfair, that proves we're trapped and tricked. No, it doesn't. They latch onto that aspect. If it was fair, we'd know who. No, it doesn't work if you know who you are or knew what you were. This whole experience doesn't work if you knew what you were. Because it has to balance, if we come in here blind with no information, then what does it have to give us on the other side to balance that equation? Perhaps things like affirmation. Humpty Dumpty says, it means what I say it means. I make an affirmation. I go to the highest level. I've beaten it because I say I've beaten it. If it's going to be so hardcore with bringing us in here blind, what is the yin and yang to that? What is the balance of that? The balance is we have say and control of everything by declaring it. That's a bold statement, John Travolta declares in Pulp Fiction. I just got back from Amsterdam, and was it that Peckerwood boy that should have been in Back to the Future with Eric, that loser that never really did anything. Eric Stoltz said, "I'll put your Amsterdam shit up against my shit any day of the week." He says, "Who's that girl with all this shit in her face?" "That's Judy Tootie. That's my wife." Eric Stoltz was supposed to be in Back to the Future instead of Michael J. Fox. Boy, did somebody fuck his career. Sorry. So a bold statement. Oh, yeah, because we come in here so blind, then we have power over everything. That's a bold statement. What if I can prove it? How are you going to prove it? Because her balls were as big as her Adam's apple. So you have no proof. I can prove it. I can prove potentially, or we get very close, that we are all powerful. What we say goes. Humpty Dumpty says it means what he says it means. To balance the equation, because we come in here so blind and powerless. Here's the proof. What does the adversary in the outer ring of reality in the screen do to us in 24/7, 365, every year, every day of every year, never takes a vacation, never takes a decade off, century after century, going back through the kings and queens and the pharaohs and those jerks of old? What is it? It plays and coordinates its trick. What's the main purpose of its trick? Powerlessness, learned helplessness, demoralization. So let me get this straight. You're from Davenport and you've put this mathematical equation together. Its entire trick for thousands of years is to getting the real spiritual being to believe that this is all they are, and they have no real power, and you need it. You need, monkey loves you. You need it to drive with your straw man in all caps, and you have no power. That's the basis of its trick for thousands and thousands of years. We'll just balance the equation. It's like the Matrix. Remember the Matrix. Here's more truth drops in Matrix. The anomaly to balance the equation. That means you're ultimately powerful. The more it works to get you to believe you are nothing, the more powerful you know you are. Rule of opposites. It's never been broken. Works every time. So if we are this blind, deaf, dumb, and blind, that means you hold all the cards. It's that simple. It's one sentence. Thanks for listening.